Most people are one thought away from a different life, not one opportunity away, not one connection away, not one lucky break away. One thought. Because the thought always comes before the thing. The vision always precedes the reality. What you consistently hold in your mind eventually shows up in your hands, and what you consistently dismiss in your mind never makes it past your front door. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the wealthiest, most successful people who ever lived. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, John Rockefeller. And after 20 years, after sitting with the greatest minds of his generation, he came back with one conclusion. Success begins in the mind. Not in the economy, not in the family you were born into, not in your level of education, not in your connections or your resources or your circumstances. In the mind. Which means the most important real estate you will ever own is not a house, it is not a building, it is not land. It is the 6 inches between your ears. Here is the first thing Napoleon Hill discovered. Every person who achieved extraordinary success started with a definite chief aim, not a vague wish, not a general hope, a specific, burning, clearly defined desire that they refused to negotiate on. He called it the starting point of all achievement, desire. Not talent, not luck, not privilege, desire. He said, desire is not a hope, it is not a wish, it is a keen, pulsating desire which transcends everything. It is the thing you think about when you wake up in the morning and the last thing on your mind before you sleep at night. It is the thing that makes you uncomfortable staying where you are because you can see so clearly where you're supposed to be. Most people have wishes. Very few people have burning desire. A wish says, it would be nice if. A burning desire says, I will find a way or I will make one. The question you need to answer today is not, what do you want? The question is, what do you want badly enough that you will not stop until you have it? The second discovery was faith. Not religious faith necessarily, though Hill acknowledged that belief in a higher power was common among the successful people he studied. He was talking about faith in the vision itself. The ability to see something in your mind so clearly and believe in it so completely that your actions begin to align with the reality before the reality exists. He said, faith is the head chemist of the mind. When faith is blended with thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to infinite intelligence. In plain language, what you genuinely believe, your whole system starts working toward. Your subconscious does not know the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. Feed it the right picture consistently enough, and it will begin directing your decisions, your habits, your conversations, your instincts, all toward the thing you are believing for. This is why 2 people can be in the exact same circumstances and produce completely different outcomes. One of them sees limitation, the other sees possibility. And they are both right, because what they see is what they move toward. The third principle is autosuggestion. This is where Think and Grow Rich gets uncomfortably close to what the Bible has been saying for thousands of years. Hill discovered that the successful people he studied were obsessive about what they said to themselves. They repeated specific statements about who they were and what they were capable of, not because it was already true, but because they understood that the conscious mind is the gatekeeper to the subconscious, and the only language the subconscious understands is repetition and emotion. Say something to yourself with enough repetition and enough feeling, and eventually the subconscious accepts it as fact. And once the subconscious accepts something as fact, it goes to work making it true. Proverbs 23:7 said it first, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." Not as a man wishes, not as a man hopes, As a man thinks, as a man repeatedly, consistently, emotionally entertains in the deepest part of his inner world, so he becomes. You are not struggling because of bad luck. You are not stuck because of your circumstances. You are exactly where your dominant thoughts have been leading you. And the moment you change the dominant thoughts, the trajectory changes.
The fourth principle destroyed more potential than almost anything else Hill identified. He called it specialized knowledge. General knowledge is almost worthless. It does not matter how much you know in general. What matters is what you know specifically, and more importantly, what you do with what you know. Hill made a point that shook the people of his generation. He said, formal education is not the same as knowledge, and knowledge is not the same as power. Knowledge only becomes power when it is organized into definite plans of action and directed toward a definite end. You do not need more information. You need to do something with what you already have. Most people are consuming endlessly and producing nothing, reading books and taking no action, attending seminars and making no changes, listening to podcasts and staying in the same place. Information without implementation is just entertainment. Henry Ford never finished elementary school. Andrew Carnegie started working at 13. What they had was not a degree. They had a clear goal, a burning desire, and the willingness to find and use the specific knowledge that the goal required. Stop waiting until you know enough. You will never know enough. Start with what you have and learn what you need as you go. The fifth principle is the one most people skip over because it is the most uncomfortable. He called it the mastermind. Hill defined it as the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. In simple terms, you cannot get to where you are going alone. Every person he studied had a group of people around them who sharpened them, challenged them, held them accountable, and brought knowledge and resources and perspective that they did not have on their own. Edison had a mastermind group, Carnegie had one, Ford had one, and yet most people are trying to build something significant entirely alone, guarding their ideas because they are afraid someone will steal them, isolating themselves because they do not want to be judged, surrounding themselves with people who are comfortable with average because being around people who are reaching for more makes them feel uncomfortable about their own lack of movement. Proverbs 27:17 says, "Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another." You cannot sharpen yourself. Iron does not sharpen itself. It requires contact with something of equal or greater hardness. Who are you in contact with? Who is sharpening you? Who in your circle is making you better just by being near them? If you cannot name anyone, that is the problem. The sixth principle is the one that separates the people who almost made it from the people who actually did. Hill called it persistence. He said persistence is to a person's character what carbon is to steel. It is the thing that transforms a soft material into something that can bear enormous weight without breaking. He studied people who failed, people who quit, people who had every ingredient for success, the desire, the plan, the knowledge, the connections, and still ended up with nothing. And in almost every case, the reason was the same. They stopped too soon. He told the story of a man named R.U. Darby who went to dig for gold during the gold rush. He dug for months and found a vein. He borrowed money to buy machinery and started mining in earnest. And then the vein disappeared. He kept digging and found nothing. He sold the machinery to a junk dealer for a few $100s and went home defeated. The junk dealer hired a mining engineer. The engineer looked at the site, did some calculations, and told the dealer to dig 3 feet further in the exact direction Darby had been digging. 3 feet. 3 feet from a vein of gold worth millions. Darby stopped 3 feet from his breakthrough.
And Hill said, this happens every day. People quit 3 feet from gold. They stop one decision away from the turnaround. They walk away one prayer before the answer arrives. They give up 1 month before the door opens. Do not be 3 feet from gold. The principle that ties everything together, the one Hill said was both the most powerful and most dangerous, was the subconscious mind. He said the subconscious mind works day and night. You cannot turn it off. You cannot pause it. It is always processing, always filing, always broadcasting and receiving. And it does not filter for truth. It accepts whatever is fed to it with consistency and emotion, positive or negative. This means that fear is just as powerful as faith. Doubt is just as potent as belief. Negative self-talk does not just make you feel bad, it programs your subconscious to work against your own goals. It literally directs your internal system toward the outcome you are afraid of instead of the one you are hoping for. This is why Hill was insistent about controlling the mental diet. What you read, what you listen to, what you allow into your mind through conversation, through media, through the people you spend time with. Every input is either reinforcing the programming you need or undermining it. 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, take every thought captive. Not some thoughts, every thought. Because every thought is either building the life you want or tearing it down. There is no neutral ground in the mind. Here is what Think and Grow Rich ultimately comes down to. Your external world is a reflection of your internal world. Change the inside, and the outside must follow. You cannot think poverty thoughts and live an abundant life. You cannot think small and build something large. You cannot rehearse failure in your mind and walk into success in your life. The mind moves in the direction of its most dominant thoughts. So the most important work you will do today is not the work on your to-do list. It is the work inside your head, feeding the right thoughts, starving the wrong ones, building a mental picture of where you are going that is so clear and so vivid and so emotionally charged that your whole system begins to move toward it. Think it first, see it clearly, believe it completely. Speak it consistently, work it daily, and do not stop, because the gold is 3 feet ahead. Drop a comments and tell me, what is the one thought you need to change your life? Share this with someone who is sleeping on the power of their own mind. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week on this channel, we work on the inside so the outside can change. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have ever been given. It is time to use it.